Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Glad that you could join us for another segment. We're going to be speaking with Mr. Dick Simon in this segment. He's co-founder and CEO of Sensorium Therapeutics. Now, Sensorium is a drug discovery platform translating insights from nature and modern neuroscience to develop novel mental health therapeutics. Welcome to Health Professional Radio. Mr. Dick Simon, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Co-founder and CEO of Sensorium Therapeutics. What is your professional background and what is Sensorium's mission and strategy?
Sure. So my professional background, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been involved in a range of different activities across multiple industries. In this space, I am extremely passionate about making a difference in the area of mental health, where we absolutely need a lot better tools. We have a lot of people who care, and they need better tools and resources to work with to alleviate suffering for millions of people. The pandemic has put a fine point on how important mental health is, but it's a problem that has been here for a long time.
What is the company's strategy to meet this need?
Our mission is to create new novel drugs that are able to help people suffering from anxiety, depression, and other central nervous system conditions. We're doing that looking at what we have learned in the past through prior human experience, through human ethnobotany, or looking at human interactions with botany, with plants and fungi, and learning from that, finding substances that have extensive history of positive impact on human mental health issues that have been used in indigenous cultures in some situations. Some of it is available today as nutraceuticals here, but how can we take this, improve on what is now happening, on the strong signals of efficacy that we have and the known safety, and create powerful therapeutics for use in a modern context.
Now, you're talking about plant-inspired medicines, is that correct?
Plant and fungi, correct.
What separates Sensorium from others that are essentially trying to do the same thing?
So in the area of CNS drug discovery, most of it, almost all of it really, is based on creating or finding a molecule that will bind to a particular receptor, and then the assumption being that, well, if we can do that, it may well work. The challenge is, for mental health conditions, we don't have really good indicators of efficacy or potential efficacy. And that's why you see in the CNS area, 56% of potential drugs wash out in phase 2. They're just not efficacious enough. We're completely flipping that on its head by looking at what has a long history of human use and signals of efficacy to then essentially reverse engineer or fractionate out, find out what the active molecules are, look at ways of enhancing or improving them so that they're useful in a current modern medical context, and taking that forward to create pharmaceuticals. It's a completely different approach, which should have a significantly higher success rate in terms of finding and enhancing medicines. And it's essentially reverse engineering what already works and improving it.
So what would you say are some of the challenges other than the efficacy issues in the CNS drug development space?
Well, unfortunately, particularly around mental health, there have not been significant breakthroughs over the last several decades. We haven't figured out ways of actually improving mental health through better pharmaceuticals. There have been minor improvements here and there, but very little significant has come forward. What we're looking at doing, which is significantly different from that, is starting from a place of, let's take what works, what is faster acting in some situations, which does not have significant side effects in other situations, and bring that forward into a new drug. As an example, for depression, roughly a third of depression patients are treatment resistant, which means nothing works for them. None of our standard treatments can help them. Of those who are helped, most of them are on SSRIs, and 40% of those people are experiencing significant side effects that end up impairing their quality of life. In the area of anxiety, more than half of the people who suffer from any psychiatric illnesses experience anxiety. The best medicines at this point are benzodiazepines, which are relatively efficacious, but have all sorts of side effects, potential for diversion, and are probably unfairly, but being likened to the next opioid. We're looking at tremendous need for helping these patients and finding completely new and different substances that will do that. And again, by starting with what's already known. On this, just one other comment on what we're doing very differently. We have what we're calling the biodynamic discovery platform, a way of processing the many hundreds of plants and fungi, and then the extracts from and eventually fractionated molecules from them in a way that is humanizing drug discovery. So we're humanizing it both by starting with what works in humans, and then we're humanizing it. Part of our process is to do extensive work using iPSCs developed into human neurons. So we're able to look at how do these really react to human neurons, and what is the mechanism of action, how to enhance that.
Now, with the success of plant-inspired medicines that you're talking about, aspirin, morphine, things of that nature, I would think that Big Pharma, with all of their resources and power, would be on the same page as Sensorium. Is that not the case?
That isn't the case at this point. Big Pharma, for a while, was looking at natural products and then completely moved away from it, focusing instead on creating molecules de novo. And that's where the tremendous opportunity exists. Ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised to, with successes that we will have, to be attracting additional attention to this space. To a certain degree, it is spawned by it. We are not in any way in the psychedelic space, but we're looking at psychoactive molecules, none of the scheduled psychedelics. And interest in that was really rekindled by seeing what can be done with psychedelics, by looking at the potential of working with ethnobotanically inspired or derived substances. So I think we're seeing a change in focus, and frankly, Sensorium is very much taking a leadership position in that.
Do you ever find yourself at odds with opponents of psychoactive assisted psychotherapy?
So what we're doing is deriving medicines that are psychoactive, is just meaning that they're active in the brain. So all pharmaceuticals related to mental health are somehow or another. I mean, one of the big challenges always is getting across the blood-brain barrier. So it isn't, there's some challenges in the psychedelic space, but that is not the space that we are in. We're in the space of take someone who is suffering from anxiety or from depression, and address those symptoms in a way that person can live a full life, not constrained by those incredibly oppressive burdens.
What does the future of plant-inspired medicine look like from your perspective, and what's next for Sensorium?
Sure. So the future of plant-inspired medicine, there's a huge cornucopia of opportunities there. Again, we have about 600 plants and fungi that we are initially focusing on that have known history. When you look at clinical trials, they'll be done with an N of hundreds of people. These are substances that it's not a formal clinical trial, but have had thousands, tens of thousands, in some situations, hundreds of thousands of human uses over extended periods of time. So I think that it's an incredibly fertile field to be focusing on, and utilizing very advanced technologies that we are doing at Sensorium is a great way to be doing that. Next steps for us, we have a first molecule that we are moving forward with, and building out the platform so that it is creating drug leads, which will eventually become development candidates, some of which Sensorium will bring forward on our own, and others of which will be opportunities for partnership.
Well, give us a website where we can learn more.
Certainly, sensorium.bio, SENSORIUM.bio. I'd invite you and your listeners there, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share today.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dick Simon, co-founder and CEO of Sensorium Therapeutics. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.